It's somebody's birthday today, and she's still sleeping. I don't know if you can see all the balloons down there, too. Let me bring you out here. I'm going to jump off. Okay. So, good morning and welcome. I'm Tim and this is SV Paquita on a very special day. So, today is Crisalida's birthday and we arrived here. I don't know where the hell we are. I said the name of it yesterday, the island, but we are in this little free marina. Apparently the way the marina works here, it's been like abandoned and you come, there's no water or electricity, which is good because I use nobody's water or electricity anyway. And it's free. So along with some derelict boats, there's Paquita, far from being derelict. Look at that beautiful moon up there. Anyway, the lads took off night before last and sailed all night. Me not having kind of relief at the wheel, I took off at 4 in the morning. I got here around 4:30 yesterday. Just so you know, if you see what's going on here, this is, can you hear that? That's the generator going right there. And what makes this special is there is no, usually on boats, they'll have a water muffler. And all night long you hear this. This thing actually has something called a water gas separator. So the water comes out of one hole and gas comes out of the other, and it's much quieter for those in the anchorage. But anyway, that's that. And we have a sound enclosure. You can barely hear the generator on the boat at all. But speaking of sound, I wanted to tell you guys that I'm trying something different. Mads, I think his name's Mads. Mads from the sailing channel Sail Life. He, I think I just noticed that he uses the same mics I use, but instead of putting them on the outside, he puts the magnet on the outside and the microphone on the inside. So if you still hear this well, let me know, because that would be a much better way to do this. If it doesn't sound as good as it normally does, let me know. I was whispering in the beginning, but anyway, so why do I have the generator on? Because it's a little chilly this morning, and while I was sleeping, while Crisalida and I were sleeping, I'd like to say that the Irish lads thoughtfully did this, but I really think it's Feli, Feli is the girlfriend of Owen. And not only is she incredibly beautiful, but she's incredibly thoughtful. And while they got here before we did, they went off and got some balloons and stuff, party favors, to make it a little bit more festive for Crisalida when she wakes up. So in that same vein, not only is it making coffee, but I figured I'd start the generator and get the heat in the boat up, because as you can see, it's actually that bad. As long as the wind's not blowing, it's not bad at all. It's kind of nice out. So, but I want to have the boat all nice and toasty so Crisalida wakes up and is all happy. But today's thing, apparently, I have not left the marina yet, but apparently if we walk around here by the boat that burnt up and the boat that fell on its side and all that sort of stuff, we walk down here, there's what the Irish call bins, which we call trash. There's a place to put the trash or the bins over there, and then you walk over and there's a footbridge. Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that, was I? I was supposed to, sorry about that. I'm supposed to not point at things. But anyway, that's the town that we're going to. And I think we're going to go and have some fun over there today, including, I'm hoping to take Crisalida out, find a nice restaurant to take her out with the lads and Feli. And this will be Feli's last night here, but it will be Crisalida's birthday dinner. And as you know, I have no secrets with you, so Crisalida, if I'm giving up something that you didn't want me to, which I don't believe I am, but if I am, I apologize. But I have a funny story that should be told today, and that's that one of my friends, they're a couple, and he was another captain at the company that I worked for, and we became very close. And after I got divorced, I moved. I basically was living in my house in Puerto Rico, but I still had my house. I hadn't had the sailboat at the time, and I had my house in Rhode Island, and this couple, Sean and Catherine, had sold their house, and they were in a process of building another house, but there were some delays and stuff, and so I said, well, go ahead and live in my house. So they lived in my house, and we became very close over that time, and we've been friends ever since, and all that was great. Since then, they've gone on to be in their house, and that while they were there, they were seeing the different women that I was dating, meaning, as I was coming and going and that sort of stuff. And even though I was in Puerto Rico, but I'd also, I'd crew change at my house and then fly to Puerto Rico and that sort of stuff. So anyway, when they eventually moved into their new house, and I eventually sold my house, and I bought Paquita, and almost right about simultaneously is when I started dating Crisalida. And Crisalida started showing up on some of my social media feeds, and my friend Sean, I think they both watch these videos too, so I hope I don't get in trouble. I think this is the most adorable story, so I hope nobody gets mad at me. Sorry, Catherine, but my friend Sean calls me and he goes, yeah, my wife says I can't hang out with you anymore. I go, oh yeah, why is that? She says, because you're a sick, disgusting pervert. I go, what are you talking about? She says, she sees the pictures of you and you're dating that little girl, that young little girl. Because she thought that she was like in her 30s. Crisalida is 4 years younger than I am. Today she turns 55 years old and she's a grandmother. She just looks so good that I was instantly accused of being an Epsteinish island person. I thought that was so funny. But anyway, you know what? Where is this video? I'm gonna put. I don't have my glasses with me. Hopefully this is. So we're at 7 minutes. Why don't we go and talk about something? I'm gonna try. Forgive me, I can't shut the camera off because then I have to do some editing, and Lord knows I don't want to do that. So bear with the shaking. I'm going to try to make the camera. Look at this. That these cats all around the dock, which is good because they keep the rats down. But the bad part is they. I think they're really interested in Lilo. So okay, let me put this over here. I'm hoping that you can see this. Hoping that isn't too unstraight. All right, good deal. So, we have a good shot of Paquita. There we go. All right, so yesterday's video, I asked if anyone wanted to hear me babble on about the Maritime pecking order, and there is, in fact, a pecking order. And so since many of you replied in the comments that you would like to hear about it. Let's talk about it. So the first thing I wanted to say is that, we talked about this yesterday, but there's a misconception of fishing and sailing. There are many people that sail and they figure as soon as they put up a sail, they have complete authority over everything. Everyone has to get out of their way. That is number one that's wrong, and we'll discuss why in a second. And the other one is, if somebody is fishing, they can fish in the channel. Hey, we're fishing here. I got the right of way. That is wrong too, and we'll talk about that as well. Then there's something, whenever I make these videos, there's always some person who says, I was the commandant of my yacht club, and we know you don't know what you're talking about because you say right of way where it's really stand-on vessel and give way vessel. Yeah, relax. It's okay. We'll get through this together. We're all talking about the same thing. We don't have to get all worried about this. All right. So the way the call regs work, and they should be international. They're international call regs, so it should be universal wherever you're at. Yeah, have some more of this coffee before it gets cold. Oh, thank you, Captain Mark Foley. He brought my favorite coffee. He brought a whole bunch of it. I'm going to hell because I'm in Europe and I'm bringing coffee from the U.S. to drink because quite frankly I miss my coffee. All right. Anyway, so we have a little saying. It's not an acronym, but it's a what do you call that? It's a something im, but it's not an acronym, but it's a saying, and we use the first letters of the saying to remember the pecking order. And what we say is we say we say new reels catch fish, so purchase some. Like new fishing reels catch fish, so purchase some. And so the reason why we do that is that if we do that, we take the first letter of each thing and we remember what it is. So the N in new reels is for nuke, and that's nuke vessels are at the top, and that's not nuclear. You might think it's nuclear, it's not, it's NUC, and that means a vessel not under command. And you say, well, what's a vessel not under command? It doesn't mean that you're tied to the dock. That means that a vessel that is in the seaway and it's lost propulsion or it's lost steering or the person who's running it has become incapacitated. All of those make a nuke vessel, and that's not under command. And so everybody has to get out of their way. And you can't just say this later, oh, I'm a nuke vessel. You also have to put the day shapes up or the light shapes, to be completely compliant. You have to put those shapes, the day shapes in the day and the light configuration at night. And if you ever want to hear about that, which I don't think is really necessary because I shouldn't say nobody. Most of the recreational fleet don't have all the shapes and don't even know what they mean anyway, so don't worry about that. So new reels. Next one is reels. The R in reels is for restricted in the ability to maneuver. And that doesn't mean that you have a boat with a full keel and the bow thrust is not working. That is not a restricted in the ability to maneuver. So I used to get on my tugboat channel, people used to say, well, when you're rounding up on the barge or you're breaking tow, aren't you restricted in the ability to maneuver? And yeah, that's a good argument for that. The way the Coast Guard has it rigged, they say that we cannot call ourselves restricted in the ability to maneuver. You can't go to sea with being planning on having one of these problems. So tugboats doing their thing are not restricted in the ability to maneuver as the way the law is written. But something that would be something like a dredge. Maybe you've seen a dredge and you see the red, white, red, or diamond, ball, diamond. That means restricted in the ability to maneuver, and they'll even tell you what side of the channel to go to. But the reason why they do that is that they are physically connected from the surface to the bottom of the ocean. They cannot move. Or in some cases, the dredges are floating, but their arm is digging down there. They cannot move. They can't just or they have pipe that's strung out from them to the shore and they can't move. So that's a good example of somebody that is restricted in the ability to maneuver. Another one would be an aircraft carrier, not underway, but an aircraft carrier that is launching or retrieving planes. They can't alter their course 10 degrees to avoid us in a sailboat just because they've got planes stacked up for miles. They have to keep the steady rate, and so that's what that is. So new reels catch. The next one is C, and that is for constrained by draft. If you notice, we're down to 3 things already. We haven't mentioned anything about sailboats already. So C for constrained by draft would be in a situation where you have 10 feet of water in this bay, a 30-foot channel, and I have my boat and I'm in the middle and there's a big cruise ship coming behind me. I can get out of the channel. He can't. He is constrained by draft. He can only be in the channel. So I think that's probably self-explanatory. We don't have to get into that. You guys understand that. And that doesn't apply, that when that applies to us, it's usually us having to move. We used to see this in the Delaware Bay all the time because there's a channel that runs up and down there and the ships are doing 17, 18 knots through that channel. And there are all these boats like us that are all right in the channel. You don't have to be in the channel. In fact, even on the tugboats, we run outside of the buoys and you know, when we have water, obviously, and we did this all the time when I used to move aggregates, but when we move oil, most of the time we're in the buoys. But you can run outside of the buoys if there's water for that and leave the channel to the big boys. So constrained by draft is that. New, reels, catch. Now fish, obviously fishing. So fishing is not the guy with the 55 Viking and a great big tuna rod on the back, and he's fishing. He's got his line out and he says, I'm not moving, I'm fishing, I'm the stand-on vessel. He is incorrect. I think the way the CFR is stated is it's boats shooting or retrieving nets or engaged in bottom fishing. So in other words, if you're a dragger and you've got all this gear out, you know, it might be a quarter of a mile behind you. It's not that far, but you're dragging this stuff off the bottom. Yeah, you can't move. If you go up and if you're up like in the Gulf of Maine and they're hauling 10 trap lobster trawls, so there's 10 traps on one line, but they're spread out. When he's got a trap on board, he can't leave because the rest of the traps are still on the bottom. He'd have to cut his line. So people engaged in fishing, and so the easy way to think about this is, if you're recreational fishing, this law does not apply to you. You're just a power boat at that point. If you are a commercial fisherman, it probably applies to you. It doesn't mean that a fishing boat going from the fishing grounds back to the dock has the right of way. It's only when they're engaged shooting nets or retrieving nets or engaged in gear that engages the bottom. So that's that. New, reels, catch, fish. So, we came to an S, and that is sailing. And I told you I'd talk a little bit about sailing. Sailing is, if you have your engine on, not like a generator, but if your propulsive engine is on, you are technically not a sailboat. It's auxiliary sail, and you are really power driven. But if you are sailing, then you are the next person in the list, which is what? New, reels, catch, fish. So you're 5th down from the top. You're not the number 1, you're number 5. So you're 5 down from the top, and so if you're sailing, then you are the stand-on vessel, or you have the right of way over most. There's something about Rule 2 that I'll get into at the end of this. So then the next one is new, reels, catch, fish, so purchase. So P would be power boats, and that's everybody that's not a sailboat. And then that kind of self-explanatory, you guys understand that, but they're just below sailing boats. So new, reels, catch, fish, so purchase some. The last thing on the list, can you guess what it is? The last thing is kind of funny. It's seaplanes. Yes, there's a line in the CFRs for seaplanes, and they actually are at the bottom of the list. And you say, well, that's not fair. They're flying around. The way I've heard that the Coast Guard or the powers that be that came up with these justify it is that we keep our boats out of the sky and you keep your planes out of our water. When we put our boats in the sky, we will be the last on the priority list. When your planes come in our ocean, you're on the last on our list. So you say, well, that means if I'm going somewhere and a seaplane wants to land, I shouldn't get out of the way. I'm not saying that, and that's where we come into Rule 2. So what I'm saying is that you should always be a good mariner and do the right thing. And I think this channel has a lot better audience than my other channel, even though my other channel is 10 times as big. There were people on my other channel that used to say, these call regs have been put into existence for this, and you should have respect for them, and you should do. You know what? That's all fine. And with all due respect, it's wonderful that you had your life and you did your sailing, you know, and your Thursday night regattas, and you were commandant of your yacht club. That's wonderful. I'm happy for you. But I'm also somebody who spent almost 30 years of my life as a commercial mariner. And regardless of what the law says, it's what we do out there. And what we do out there, we do it every day. Now I'm retired, I don't do it, but they do it. And so you might want to listen to how things really work. You know, in the US, many of our speed limits are 55 or 65, and you see everyone doing much faster than that quite often. And There are some people that drive the speed limit, and there are also some people that anyway, that no. Let's get into rule 2. Rule 2, basically, I'm kind of putting this in my own words, but rule 2 basically says, and rule 1 was where everything that we just talked about for all the rest of the call regs. Rule 2 basically says everything in the call regs, you could throw it all out the window if you can make a maneuver to avoid an accident. So everyone that is going to be, I'm the stand-on vessel, I am not moving, and you get run into, you're still at fault. Even though you get hit on the port side, even though you're sailing and they're motoring, you're still at fault. You share some burden of the fault because you could have moved and you didn't. So remember, you will not be held accountable for not abiding by, if you're the stand-on vessel and you decide to give way, you're not going to be held accountable for that. Rule 2 covers you on that. And that means that you can get it, but you can't move at the last minute, cause an accident, say, well, I was moving to get out of your way and it caused an accident. Now, if you're going to use rule 2, it has to save something. Anyway, that's it. This video is probably going way too long. Look, the sun just came over the corner. I don't know how it's shining on the camera here. Put it over this way. But it is a beautiful morning. Crisalida, my gorgeous fiance, she is a year older, much wiser, and probably doesn't show a day more of age. So it's a great day, and really like taking you guys along with us. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Do all that YouTube stuff. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And thank you for those of you that have hit the super thanks button. We'll be using some of that tonight. Lifting up a cheers with you guys. And thank you to my patrons. You guys take care, be safe, and as always, I'll see you on the one.